If you like this video, make sure to subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell icon to get the latest updates.
Okay, so with this, shall we start with today's session? I'll just close this. So before we start with this, I'm gonna share another screen, and I just want to understand from you whether you guys are actually working on this type of a screen. So are you able to see, the SAP IBP screen on my laptop?
Yes.
Okay. So are you using this IBP tool or similar IBP tool for any of the activity that you perform in your day-to-day work?
I do on occasion. But Sharna or
Yeah, I was just going to say I do on occasion. I'm not using it for not using the actual forecast part, but I run reports. I'll check the alerts in here, and like I said yesterday, statistical forecasting I also run from here. But other than that, I haven't used the rest of it.
Yeah, same here. Only for locking the forecast for next month, I run a job and I follow a script for that.
Okay, so are you able to see the IBP screen? So I just wanted to understand from you all as to if you use this kind of a screen and what are the task or activity that you perform. So let's go one by one. Let's go start with Victoria.
I've just gotten into using this more on occasion, and it's I haven't used it that much.
Okay, so what are the the task that you perform using this screen? For example, is it related to demand planning, or what functionality do you use, if at all you use this?
It would be the data integration jobs or the
Okay.
planning areas, user groups.
Okay.
That's what I've used so far.
Okay, and for rest of your day-to-day activities, okay, you or your team is basically using the Excel interface, right? The Excel based IBP file, correct?
Yes.
Okay, okay. How about you, Sharna?
So I use the application jobs tile to run jobs and monitor them. I use the manage forecast models job when I'm editing my forecast models for statistical forecasting, and monitor customer alerts. So those are the main. I mean, I'm not using all of those every day, but those are the main ones that I will use in Fiori. Most of my work is in the Excel app.
Okay, okay. So most of your day-to-day activity you perform on the Excel, and only for certain tasks, basically you visit the IBP module, and you try to run some of the tasks. So is there anything related to master data maintenance or that you IBP in this
I
screen?
do. I do. No, I don't do it on Fiori. I do all my master data maintenance in Excel.
Okay, that's mainly in the Excel. So for example, so if you have to change the master data settings, for example, let's say if you have to change your lead time for the supplier from whom you are purchasing the raw materials, for example, then whom do you contact to get this done in the IBP so that your file is updated?
I won't be doing something like that. Like the master data that I'm changing is on the sold to product tables, customer tables, things like that. I'm not changing a lead time, but I would do all of my master data updates in Excel.
Okay, so okay, I understand. So so let's take an example of the sold to customer. So if at all you have to change the sold to customer or ship to customer, then would you do it in this screen in
No,
this
I do it in Excel.
in an Excel? Okay, and then at the end of the your task, you just share that so that it communicates back to the IBP, correct?
Yeah, I edit the master data workbook directly in the Excel app. So I just save and upload the data.
Okay, okay. So how about you, Vaibhav?
I think exactly the same as Sharna. I run some jobs, application jobs for locking the forecast. That's the only part when I use this page, or I go to the web UI. Don't know if it's the same page, but the web UI and any other master data. I haven't done a lot of master data. It's mainly been my boss who I report to, but I've watched it and I've made a few changes, but it's again the same master data workbook from Excel and then save data and run the heuristics is what I do.
Okay. So is your line manager going to join any of these sessions in the next 20 days? Some of the, because I see some of the team members are going to attend a specific sessions. Okay. So I just wanted to understand if somebody who's responsible for either for master data maintenance or somebody who's responsible for the decision making, apart from of course you guys is going to join, so that we can um, we can present the data in that context.
I mean, I will be doing some of the master data maintenance. I don't.
Victoria.
I'm trying to think of everyone else that might be joining.
Okay.
I don't think
So
there's many others that would be doing it. Just like Sharna said, she kind of does some. There's maybe one or two other people that would do some of it, but not necessarily everything.
okay, perfect. So Victoria, when was this IBP implemented in your organization? I just wanted
I'm
to
in
understand the master
I'm
data
in
is.
the I'm in the US.
Yeah.
And it was implemented in the US in 2018.
2018. Okay.
Sharna, do you know when it was implemented in the UK?
I'm not 100% sure. I think it was. I think it was before that, but it was before my time. So.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the
So
UK's had it the longest. And I'm not sure when Canada got it. It might have been around the same time of 2018.
okay, so basically, it was installed somewhere in 2018 or prior to that, and at the time of installation, I think the master data team or the project management team must have taken care of all the master data and stuff like that. So the reason I asked this question is, to understand as to, because there are a lot of changes that sometimes are required to be done to the master data level. So that's the reason I asked these questions, whether this master data maintenance and other configurations are part of any of your job profile. Okay, so I understood that. So basically, in a nutshell, if we have to understand, the activities that you guys are performing, it's basically in the Excel spreadsheet, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Got it. Okay. Okay. So I just wanted to understand so that we can deep dive based on the requirements. So as a part of hands-on, okay, so which will be part of the lab activity of these training sessions in the subsequent sessions. So what should be the focus area? Should it be focused on the Excel interface? Okay, that is Excel user interface of IBP, which you are currently using, and we get into the details and the deep dive into the Excel, or we need to get into the real IBP, which is basically a so-called back end data. So where should be our focus area according to you?
I'm Victoria. I would like both, because I will have to use this web UI for some
Okay.
things.
Yeah, I would completely agree. Like, although I I'm not using a lot of the web UI. I would like to know how to use it. So I've always got that option. And some more information on it, but also, yes, we do use a lot of the Excel. So I think that would be a good place to have some focus.
When you say web UI, that's also an interface, that's also a user interface. This particular screen is basically the IBP dashboard. It's the original IBP, right? Like we have SAP R4, which is the production system, okay, or SAP HANA, H4 HANA. So this particular screen is basically, the core SAP IBP. And when it gives the result, it has the functionality of transmitting the results into Excel spreadsheet, which you use in your day-to-day activity, or it can be a web-based report. Okay, so web-based report is also similar to what Excel reports are, or it can also be on the mobile outputs. So these all are the user interfaces. Okay, so I again ask the question whether you want to be focused on SAP IBP, this particular screen, and understand how the master data is maintained, or how the algorithms are set, or how the activity takes place in the core IBP, or you want
Yes.
to focus on the user interface, which you currently are doing and facing some issues.
I would say it's both.
Both. Okay. Okay. So at the time of implementation, have you undergone a detailed level of a user training? Because normally for such projects, we have something called as key users. So key users are basically, the users who are granted maximum number of access, and they are the superpower users for the organization. So are any one of you is assigned a key user role?
So I'm very new to actually using IBP. I've only
Okay.
been doing what, kind of relates to day to day and different planning horizons, but I haven't gone through any formalized training for this. So I would just, where I stand is I would just take everything you're kind of going through on both ends. And for super users, I think in Canada, it's me and my boss who will be joining in later modules, who mainly are the managers of master data. And the reason for me to enroll in this is, to get well versed and take on that responsibility for managing master data tables.
Okay, that's perfect. Okay, so thanks for all the inputs. This will help me to focus on the right areas, so that at the end of the training, you gain the knowledge of where you are facing some challenges within the organization, and this results into a success for you at the later stage. Okay, so since I still do not have the right access, I'll work with your help desk team over the next couple of days and try to fix it, so that at least from next week we do directly start working on the screens, on the SAP screens. Okay, so I'll try and fix that. So in the meantime, we'll start with our day-to-day training sessions. Okay, so if you remember correctly, Vaibhav, yesterday we spoke about ABC and XYZ analysis. Okay, and I had mentioned to you that since it's the most important part of the organization for the manufacturing or the operational organization, it's extremely important to classify their products and also the customers into ABC class, so that you have the right focus on right set of customers. So yesterday I have added this slide in the slide pack, just to get a flavor, just to give you all a flavor of how the ABC and XYZ classification is performed, and how the results can be used. So at the end of the analysis, you can still do this analysis in the Excel file. You don't if you are not familiar with the IBP, of course IBP has the functionality of doing everything automatically, but you can still do it in Excel if till the time you do not have the full training on the IBP. Okay, so these three boxes are basically the three types of analysis done for the ABC and XYZ category. Okay, the first is basically a revenue contributor. Okay, now on the x-axis you see the uncertainty in the demand. Okay, that is also called as the demand variability. Okay, so this is minus and this is plus. That means at this particular point, or at this box, which is kind of a yellow box, you have low demand variability. Okay, so demand is quite stable. So as you move forward at this particular point, your demand is extremely uncertain. Okay, it's extremely volatile. Okay, similarly on the y-axis you see A, B and C. A means this is positive. A means you have high volumes. Okay, this is volume. Or you can also, if 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 your strategy is based on the value, okay, if your organization is focusing on the revenue value and not the volume, okay, then you can even plot value of revenue on the y-axis. Okay, so A means highest volumes, B means moderate volume, and C means the low volume. Okay, now in this table you identify the 9 box. This particular analysis is called as 9 box segmentation. If you only check the volumes or the value part, and if you don't check the variability or uncertainty in the demand, then it is called as ABC analysis. So earlier the manufacturing or any other organization would only do the ABC analysis just to check the volumes and the value as to who are the major contributor to our business. But later everyone realized that it's not only the volume which makes the difference, but it's also the uncertainty in the demand. Like for example, if one customer is a major customer for the organization, and let's say in the simple terms, if this customer is buying let's say 70% of the volume for the organization, okay, so that's an extremely good, that customer is extremely important for the organization. But on the flip side of this is, this customer is not very frequently buying the material. He will buy the material only once a quarter or only once a 6 months. So this means this customer has high level of uncertainty in the volume, okay, in his buying pattern. So even though this customer is extremely important, we may have different kind of a strategy for this customer over any other customer. Okay, so similarly, because of these parameters, we have segmented the volumes or the values on the 9 box as follows. So with low uncertainty and low volumes, okay, so this stands here at this, and on the right hand side we have high volumes, that is A is high, the volume is high, and uncertainty is high. Okay, so this gives you a segmentation which is called as a 9 box segmentation. So at the end result of this, if for example if you plot the materials in 2 columns or in 1 column of your Excel spreadsheet, let's say the material description in your Excel spreadsheet, and on the next column if you plot the volume contribution by this customer every month, then this will give you who are the A customer, who are the B customer, or who are the C customer. Similarly, if you extend your analysis and also check in this analysis for the span of, let's say, 12 months, that is from January till December of 2022, for example, then you understand at the end of this table who are the customer who's buying this material every month and at a decent quantity. Okay, every month buying does not mean that there is no uncertainty in the demand. Like customer may buy, let's say if customer is buying 10 pounds or 10,000 pounds in a month of January, and he again buys some material, let's say 2,000 pounds in the month of February, and in the month of March he buys 5,000 pounds, and in April he buys, let's say, 15,000 pounds. Then the customer is buying the material, so volume wise he may be in the A category or B category based on the overall portion of the volume or the value that is contributing to the organization. But with respect to the uncertainty, he may be either Z or he may be on the Y side. Okay, so at the end of this analysis, okay, on the volume or the value part, against each and every material number or against each and every customer, you will have AX as one combination, AY as another combination, AZ as another combination. Okay, so let's say there are three customers. So one customer may fall as AX, one customer may fall as AY, and third customer may fall as AZ. Similarly, BX, BY, BZ, and CX, CY, CZ. So at the end of your analysis, if it is a volume or value based analysis, you will get the list of the products against which the segmentation, that is AX or AY or AZ. This is point number one. Now if you again extend this analysis further, okay, then you will get in the next box, what you see here is how your stocking policy or how your inventory should vary based on the segmentation of the customer. So for example, a customer in the category A who's buying high volumes and with a very certain demand, okay, X means high level of certainty, Z means very uncertain, low level of certainty. Okay, so customer who's falling in AX, that means he's buying huge volumes and the variability is low. For that, you need to have adequate, very less amount of inventory. 1, 2, 3 plus means it is less amount of inventory. Why it is less amount of inventory, even though the customer is buying high volumes? Because this customer is extremely predictable. If he says 10,000 pounds, he may at the most order 9,000 pounds or 11,000 pounds. He may not order 1,000 pounds against the forecast of 10,000 pounds. So he's extremely certain, and he's buying the material every month. So the risk of carrying inventory is low. I can carry 12,000 pounds of inventory and still satisfy this customer. Okay, so this is how this analysis works. Now, for example, let's talk about the bottom of the box, wherein the volumes are C, that is, or sorry, the volumes are C, that is extremely low volumes, and uncertainty is high. So when it is low volume with very fluctuating material or very fluctuating customer, you don't need to keep any stocks for them. Okay, you need not plan for them, because this customer may be buying material for a specific project. This project he might have got in 2023, but he may not get this project again in his lifespan. So that's the reason you don't need to plan any inventory for this customer, and this customer should be operated as MTO, that is made to order. So you should have a process in place wherein if at all you receive the order for this material which is having low volume and very high uncertainty, then you have to identify this product or this customer as MTO customer. Okay, the next is basically you can identify the service levels using the ABC and XYZ analysis. For an instance, again going back to customer 1, which is AX, which is having high levels of volume and low level of variability. So you have to keep less amount of inventory, but your service level is close to 97%, which is extremely good. That means 97% of the time, keeping extremely low inventory in the stocks, you are servicing the customer who's very high in demand contribution and extremely low in uncertainty. So this is a kind of a win-win situation for the organization. So what it actually, okay, before I jump into the other conclusions, I just wanted to check with all of you whether you understood this concept, so that you can go back and implement this for the portfolio that that you are working upon. Hello.
I'm with you so far for the ADC and XYZ.
Okay. So any specific questions or doubts, or now these are basically the results of the analysis that we did. So Vaibhav, if you can take the small set of data, let's say maybe only 5 materials or 5 customers, and try to map them in ABC XYZ, that is 9-box segmentation. Would you be able to do that? At least give a try and see where your critical customers stand.
Yeah, I think so. You mean right now or as an
No, no, no,
exercise
no, no,
when we
not
get
right
to
now.
session?
No, no, you can take this as a assignment whenever you have free time. It's not a pressure at all. So because being a planner, it is extremely important to how the product behaves, and if you are into a role of a demand planner, you should get into the deep dive of ABC XYZ analysis, because this will change the entire process of looking at the customer or the materials, because we are completely driven by some sort of perceptions or some sort of misleading data. But when you actually put the data in the ABC XYZ analysis table, you realize that the customer that you are focusing on a lot are actually not making sense to the business. So this does not mean that you get rid of these customers, but certainly your service level should be more focused on those customers who are giving you more profit. Okay, so for example, category A and X customers, these are very high volume and stable customers. You keep less inventory, and you achieve 97% of the service level, which is extremely good. This is win-win situation. You have less working capital or less inventory, so less working capital, so company's cash is not blocked in the inventory, and you are satisfying the most important customer. Wherein for this red ones, you know you have very high uncertainty and very low demand. They may be contributing to only 1 or 2% to your revenue targets. Okay, so you cannot keep any inventory, because if you keep the inventory, this inventory has extremely high risk of going in the obsolescence. It may get expired by the time you get the order, and your service level is impacted because you don't keep the inventory. So the best thing is to keep this MTO, made to order. That is, when you receive the customer order, you quote them the lead time of 2 months, 3 months, and then improve the service level. Yeah, you asking something when I was talking, or any questions?
No, I 100% agree with you. I have not done this analysis before. I know high level what customers, we ship direct, and this analysis is exists in my head, but not as clearly. So yeah, you're right. That's a good exercise. I'll do that. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much, Vaibhav. Any questions, Victoria or Sharna?
None for me.
Okay. Okay, so so we go back to our regular presentation where we stopped yesterday. I'll just close this. Okay, so I think this is where we had stopped yesterday, and we were talking about the 5 components of demand-driven MRP. You know, the DDMRP. So DDMRP model works on you know, the various factors. That is basically the 5 major component, which is you know, position, protect, and pool. And within pool we have plan and execute. So what happens is because it's demand driven MRP, you know, the demand is driving the MRP. Okay, and this is mostly applicable for the MTO products, because for MTO products the MRP runs as soon as you know, the demand is entered in the system. When I say demand, it's the actual order, it's not the forecast. Forecast are called also sometimes called as demand, but if it is 100% sure that, you know, the forecast will get converted into the sales order, the actual sales order from the customer, then only it should be called as a demand. So it does is strategic decoupling. Okay, that means you know, the demand actually segregates the set of information. Okay, and not only the single plant, but it will check you know, the inventory at the various plants. Okay, and if it does not find the inventory, it will go to the buffer profiles. Buffer profiles means basically, you know, the safety stocks or the buffer stock that you keep you know, to mitigate the uncertainty in the demand. So normally for the critical products or critical customers, you have a process of keeping the safety stocks or the buffer stocks. So DDMRP checks the buffer stocks and considers them for fulfilling the customer order, and at the same time it also creates the replenishment order of, so that, you know, the buffer stocks are again rebuilt in the system, and they are again stored wherever they are. This also does the dynamic adjustments. Okay, when I say dynamic adjustments means, for example, if there are an alternative materials available, or there are alternate vendors available who can supply the same material. So DDMRP has the possibility of checking whether, you know, we can get the material from these sources. So demand is driving the planning activity. That's why it is completely a full kind of a strategy, and it gives a complete visibility to the planner. So most of the companies, you know, or most of the ERP systems or MRP systems have demand-driven MRP functionality, so that, you know, it gives you a more and more accurate results. So we'll move further. Okay. This looks to be a little busy slide, but this is nothing but the same point that I mentioned before in the earlier slide. The 5 components of demand-driven MRP. Okay, so on the red line, like a sine wave, you see the demand. Okay, and the blue line is nothing but a supply. Okay, now this red line, okay, the reason you see much bigger spikes in the beginning is because of the bullwhip effect. Okay, if you remember, I explain what exactly is the bullwhip effect, wherein, you know, one person or one customer going to several retail shops to check the availability of the material, and because this material is in shortage, each and every retailer is recording this as a demand and a kind of a potential customer, and passing on this to the next level, to the distributor and to the manufacturer. So the actual manufacturer gets multiple demand for, you know, the single requirement, that is for the requirement of 10,000 pounds of a product, let's say a sugar. They will get the requirements from 3 different retailers. for the same customer, and the demand is inflated as 30,000. Okay, but this red line is only till the time there is a demand uncertainty. So that when you have less supply, you see that the bullwhip effect is higher, and the when you start supplying them, it tends to come down. So it behaves in a cyclic way, and once the market gets the positive feedback that this material is not anymore under shortage, then the market actually does the correction to the demand, and you see that at the end of this cycle, the demand is coming down. So basically, DD-MRP is dampening the variability and the amplification, that is bullwhip effect, in the volatile world. Okay, so the second functionality or the third functionality is system is checking various stock levels, okay, and trying to support this demand. See, it is checking whether this supplier has raw material in place, and whether this supplier has this raw material in place, so on and so forth. So this is how the MRP actually does the job at the background and trying to fulfill the demand. So over the period of time, it ensures that all the demand is fulfilled and customer is satisfied. But in the short term horizon, there are always gaps, and the customer service is extremely poor. So this also is the similar example like this, okay, wherein there are different independent stock buffers, and system is considering those buffers and putting it in the replenishment cycle. So any questions? Are you with me on this slide?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so these are the additional functionality of DD-MRP. That is, it decouples decoupling points, calculates the buffer zone. Okay, calculate the net flow position to exactly what is required. It generates the replenishment order because it is pulling out or using the stocks from the buffer zones, from the safety stocks, and monitoring and prioritizing the production order, because these are the real customer orders. So system will automatically prioritize the order for DD-MRP, because this DD-MRP is for the real customer order versus any other production order which is running against the forecast. So if there is production going on against the forecast, and this forecast is not backed with the real customer order, then DD-MRP would give priority to the actual customer order in the production line. Okay, so now we have covered more or less a little bit of a deep dive into IBP for demand, wherein we check the forecast and the forecasting related stuff. We had checked how the inventories are working, like for example MTO versus MTS inventory policies, and the ABC XYZ analysis, and how the stocks are basically helping to bridge the gap between demand and supply. Then the next phase, we reviewed the supply IBP for supply, and overall how the SNOP and other processes are identifying the gap between demand and supply, and trying to create the action plan and the escalation for the supply chain control tower. Now we'll focus on the topmost pyramid of the diagram of IBP, which is supply chain control tower. So this supply chain control tower mainly is operated by the top management, okay, and they always have the question of how do they manage the business, because they are not involved in the day-to-day transactional activity. So transactional activities are done by the operational guys, who are actually doing the day-to-day jobs. But the top management need to get some kind of information about what exactly happening at the ground level. So that's the reason IBP helps them, to monitor all the activity, even the small activity, in the form of MIS reporting and the visual aids and visual graphs. So the top management often think of setting up the KPIs, which will help the organization to grow. So all the KPIs for the organizations are based on their vision and mission statement. So organization have certain targets based on which the KPIs are defined, and these KPIs are then drilled down or cascaded down to all the various teams across the board, so that every single person is responsible for his individual KPIs, which in turn will help the organization to deliver their targets and the goals. So what are the fundamental drivers or causes of their performance? So everyone should understand, what their role is, what and how best they can, execute their role, so that the overall KPIs and the organization's goals are fulfilled. That's the reason I asked in the beginning of session to you that if you are facing any specific challenges within your existing process, so that becomes your focus area. So if you can come up with these kind of the proposals, we can get into the deep dive into this, try and understand the issues, and consider it as a case study, and try to fix some meaningful solutions, so that you have full control on these kind of activities. So another point about the top management is to anticipate the issue. It is said that anticipating issue is like half solving the issue. Most of the time, we face we are not able to resolve the issues because we are not able to define the problem statement. So that is the key issue of not resolving most of the time, because we don't understand what exactly is the problem. So if we understand the problem, then we can go back and identify the root cause. And once the root cause is identified, then it's extremely easy to fix the problem. So problem statement is identifying the problem statement is extremely important, even at the top management level, so that the organization focus is on in the right area, and they collaborate across the levels to improve the overall organizational goals. Any questions or doubts?
Nope, all good.
No questions.
Okay, so moving further, the plan to execute like design to operate was there for the SNOP process. Similarly, we have a process called plan to execution for the supply chain control tower. So at the bottom of this graph, you see the details. Details means the operations or the executions of the products. Like for example, asset management. Then we have logistics. We have manufacturing operations. We have sales execution, and we have finally the supply. These are all the transactional level activities, which is basically the core of the organization. Even though in the pyramid you see them at the bottom, but these are the ones who's basically helping to exist the organization, because they are the ones who are actually executing the manufacturing order. They're actually producing it, so that the organization gets a profit and they grow, and the overall organization sustains over the larger period of time. In the next ladder, we see the execution and planning. Like these are the set of people like planners or the managers who are more focusing on setting up the SOP, that is standard operating procedures, so that the bottom line activities are performed as per the SOPs. So in planning, you see demand planning, supply planning, synchronized planning, and SNOP. And in execution, you see transportation, inventory, logistics, manufacturing, so on and so forth. So all these inputs, all these activities basically gives the visibility to the top management team, and they get an insight from all these activities. And IBP does a vital role in providing, in connecting everything together and giving them the results. So using IBP efficiently, you will be able to identify your problem areas. Okay, like for example, if you run a simple, if you trigger the master data and simply run the XYZ analysis every 3 months, it need not be it's not required to run it every day or every week, but once in a 3 months or even once in a 6 month, you will see that some of the customers who are behaving, who are your major customers, or who are basically, I would say, the prime customers, they are slowly turning into a non-regular customer. So you can, so this analysis will give you a heads up that something is going wrong with this customer. So you can always call this customer and try and understand, because they may be in the process of creating the alternate supplier, so you may lose the business. So that's the reason it's extremely important for management to have a full focus on the day-to-day activity and what's exactly happening down the line. So plan to execution, are you all in line with this slide, or there are any specific doubts?
No doubts.
Okay, so maybe move on. Okay, so these are basically the navigation scenarios, how IBP actually navigates. Okay, if you remember the screen which I showed in the beginning of the session, the IBP, the blocks. So these blocks, like ECC is basically the order to cash flow. Okay, and ME22 is basically the purchase order creation or purchase order amendment transaction code. This is the SAP T codes. Then we have ECC, the general transaction. ECC is basically the SAP platform wherein you do the material master, production planning, and other activities. Then we also have so digital manufacturing insights. Okay, this is also a SAP module. So all these SAP modules are interacting with IBP modules, feeding them the information and executing the information from them into meaningful data. Similarly, on the left hand side, you see SAP S4 HANA order apps. Okay, these are the outputs. Then the general apps for a product fact sheet. Then management apps. Okay, these management apps will give them the inventory projection, the DIO, days inventory outstanding, the working capital details, and all the tabs which are extremely important for management to identify the pulse of the organization. Similarly, for S4 HANA apps, so all these apps are integrated with IBP, and they are basically sharing all the data from IBP into different platforms. Solution direction. So let's see how IBP gives the solution. Production planning and ATP. So I think ATP, you all are aware how the ATP works. So production plan considers the capacity. Okay, it checks the rough cut capacity, and it allocates the capacity for the production orders. Okay, Then it reduce the manufacturing cycle time. Like every time it will help us to identify the gaps in the manufacturing cycle time, or the delays, or the time where the material is only sitting in the shelf and there are no activities going on. So this helps the planner to identify the lag time in the manufacturing process, and try and reduce the time. It simulates the planning process and shortens the lead time with improvement in the cost, because production cost is also um, extremely important parameter for the manufacturing organization, and they are always working on reducing the cost. Real-time order confirmation, then automatic and intelligent selection of suitable products. These are part of basically the production selection and customer service. Then segmented and priority based orders. So segmentation is nothing but either the ABC analysis or the 9-box analysis. So these are called segmentation. So segmentation is extremely important. Okay, so once the products and the customers are segmented, then the point of view of providing the service level to customer and providing the information and other facility to the customer may vary based on the segmentation. The next slide again is basically the same slide as I showed before, to show the harmonized supply chain planning, wherein all the different systems are communicating with each other in the efficient way to improve the overall processes and the output. Okay, so little bit of insight about what we learned just now, the combined network and plant-centric planning. Okay, so the consistent user interface across different planning steps. So basically, what Excel file or the Excel IBP file that you guys are using, these are basically the user interface, and it's the replica of SAP IBP in simple terms, because Excel is widely used by most of the planning team members, and it's extremely user friendly, and it's widely adopted by the larger audience. So basically, that's the reason Excel user interface is used across the board. But having said this, you need to more focus on, of course, the back end actual IBP as well, because if you have bare control on the master data, then I think the output is also fairly controlled. So when I say master data is like the forecasting algorithms and other points. Data integration and processes. As I mentioned several times, SAP is integrating the data, the processes, and also the team members amongst each other, so that everybody is working for the common goals, and the output are completely integrated. And there are a lot of alerts also provided by SAP, which helps planner to identify the real issues and focus on the right areas. So it's always providing the real-time information and integration, and we can define the frequency of communication between the IBP and various systems. Interoperability, basically it's the operational flexibility within IBP. Okay, like for example, the financial planning, the digital boardroom planning, that means the top management planning. These are basically the functionalities which IBP is combining together. So it's not only working on the material level or on the quantity of production, but it also is checking the cost of production, the production variances, and also the financial analysis. So at any given point in time, if you are in a dilemma as to whether to produce the goods in-house or to outsource it to somebody else, IBP can be used to take these decisions of make or buy. So this process is called as a decision for make or buy, whether we need to manufacture this product in-house or we can outsource this product from the external parties. So MI versus ML AI strategies, artificial intelligence versus material strategies. So basically, it proves the use cases. Okay, so based on the actual requirements, it can create you can create the kind of artificial intelligence data, and you can create the reports, and it can run at the periodic interval as and when you want. You can also have a lot of conditions set in the reports, like for example, like the ones you use in Excel, like if condition or some if conditions or the logical VLOOKUP and other stuff. So everything can be synced in IBP, and it can provide you all sets of supportive information. Okay, the next slide is basically on machine learning and automation. There is AI process in SAP. Okay, so machine learning in demand planning basically this identifies the forecasting algorithm. These are nothing but the part of the machine learning process. Then machine learning in alerts. So basically there are a lot of alerts which can be designed, and you can have your customized alerts if you understand how to set the alerts. And if you tend to miss something, because every day, every morning, you cannot come and check all the materials, right? So you need to have some kind of a mechanism which helps you to identify where are the issues. Okay, so some kind of alerts, if you identify, it will really ease your life on a day-to-day basis. Like for example, the way Amazon is working, since the time they book the order from the customer, they set the alerts in their system. Like when they book the order, you get the message. When the order is ready, pick pack, you get the message. When the order is shipped, you get the message along with the invoice. And if the order is moving from the various depots, you understand where exactly is the order, where exactly is your goods. And this is the kind of functionality which is available in the alert monitoring system. So if you are able to identify what is your need, we can set the alerts accordingly. And every morning when you come to office, you just need to check your alerts and work on those alerts. And you can give them the traffic light, traffic signaling lights, because it may happen that one of the day you may have, let's say, 100 different alerts for 100 different customers or 100 different products. So that does not mean that you need to go into each and every alert and check each and every of them. So basically you can define the traffic lights. Let's say the red ones are the most important ones. Let's say the condition for red ones is, the customer order is not fulfilled for more than a month's time. So this is not acceptable to the organization, and this order can be flagged off to the top management any point in time. So you might as well work upon it and try and fulfill this order. So this alert can have a condition, which will give you a red light signal vis-a-vis the other alert, which will be of a green light, saying that your inventory is, let's say, 100 pounds or 100 kilograms more than your forecast. So which may not be a major problem because this inventory can be consumed in the subsequent month. But still, you should know these kind of product behaviors. So the alerts are important, even though they are green in nature. So at some point in time when you have free time, you can even review the alerts with amber color or orange color, and the ones with the green colors. So this is how the alert mechanism works, and it's a fantastic feature. Once you start using it, then you will like it, and you will try and create more and more alerts so that your life becomes easy. Process automation, I think we already spoke about. Excuse me. In the section of plant 2021, basically this talk about the segmentation, demand sensing, and gradient boosting. So demand sensing, we have already discussed about. ML, machine learning, master data, anomaly detection, like master data. Majority of the organizations are struggling in maintaining the correct master data. Many organizations, I would say, at least 7 out of 10 organization would have something or the other issue with the master data. This is across the level big problem in many big organizations as well. So master data, identifying the issues in the master data, because master data is driving all your processes. Your processes will simply work based on the set of master data that is fed in the system. So in case of any error in the master data, it will definitely lead to the error in the output. So you have to be extremely careful in setting the master data. You need to have a periodic review of the master data, so that you don't lose out on the focus of the accuracy level. The last phase is basically the research phase, wherein there are a lot of researches which is going on, and there are a lot of recommendations for the alerts. So IBP team is basically always working on improving the system further and further. Like for these all are basically the functionality which was not existing earlier, but we see them all in the system now. So every time as the new things are being researched, they are implemented in the system. Any questions, or we move ahead? I think with this with this we are coming to the end of part B for the module 1. So module 1 has basically 4 sub modules. Introduction to IBP, this is what we have already covered on the first day. Module 1, SAP IBP review part A, was covered on second day, and now today we covered this third day. So these all are part of the introduction of IBP phase. In this is the course curriculum. So day 1, day 2, day 3. So today ideally we should have completed the Excel user interface today and tomorrow. Since I'm not there, we can maybe complete this on Monday.
Is there any way I could get my hands on the Monday slides? Because Monday is a public holiday in Canada, so it's a day off.
Oh, it's a day off for you?
In Canada, it is, yeah.
Okay, and for for Victoria and Sharna, it's working, right?
Correct.
Okay. So Monday you will not be attending the session, right, Vaibhav?
Yeah, I won't be able to make it on Monday, yeah.
Okay.
I'll probably do a catch up from the video recording, but I just wanted to know if the slides are already available. I can utilize, because you're not available tomorrow, right? So I can utilize the time tomorrow, do a Monday session myself, just go through the slides.
Yes, these videos are available. Okay, and the slide packs are always available. So maybe if you don't get the videos, tomorrow you can review these videos, and you can what I would suggest is, you go to this material section. These are basically the lab activities. Okay, so because I don't have the access to your IBP system, normally in such kind of a training conducted by ZaranTech, the servers are provided by ZaranTech. But because this time, your organization said that the server will be provided by ASR, so so these activities needs to be conducted on your server. So basically, this lab activity is a step-by-step approach which you can follow, and go through the IBP, because theoretical part I will cover. That's, even you have any doubts anytime, I will address those issues. But what I request three of you is to choose at least first lab activity. Try and follow the steps which is mentioned here in your IBP test scenario. Do it in the test scenario, guys, because I don't want you to start working on something and then it should not spoil your live data. So you always, now you have the access to the test scenarios, right?
Yeah, I do. Test systems, yes, we all do.
So log on to the test scenario and navigate to these IBP modules. Okay, so it will give you a good flavor of how the basic activities are being carried out, like setting the favorites. Okay, so you can set your favorite activity. For example, if demand planning is your favorite tab, you can set demand planning on the top, and the sub modules of that, like your forecasting accuracy, your algorithm tables, so everything you can set in the way you want, and it will be a user specific. So above, if you log in, you will see your user specific tabs. If Victoria logging to her ID, she will see her user specific tabs based on her profile. Okay, so this is a very, very detailed and good amount of process documentation which is done by ZaranTech. So I don't think so you will have major challenge in executing this, and this will also give you a good hands-on practice for IBP. And then once we are back, maybe on Monday, Tuesday, and if my issue is resolved, then we can spare more time on the lab activities, directly logging into the system and working on the system and trying to identify the areas where you face challenges, and then we define some actions. So any questions, Vaibhav or Victoria or Shana?
No
Not at the moment.
questions.
No, nothing
Okay.
for me.
So you have access to this LMS database, right? And you can use this lab, correct?
Yes, for me.
Yeah. Did log into the LMS, but I didn't try the script yet, but I'll do that. Oh yeah.
I've got the LMS. I don't have access to test yet, but I know IT is working on that. So
So you do not have access to this LMS?
no, I've got access to the LMS. I don't have access to test yet, like the test system. But our IT is working on it.
Okay. So your IBP test system is not still accessible. So when you say IBP, you will be using this, right? Not the user interface. At least because user interface, I think Excel you are quite familiar with and you are using it day to day, right? So I would request you to spend some time on this, okay, referring to the lab documents, and try and execute some of the actions. So when we come back on Monday, we see if you face some issues, if there are any issues with your access, there are any issues with your functionalities and stuff like that. Okay, so shall we proceed with the last part of the first module?
Yep.
Are you able to see the screen?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, you can go through this disclaimer in a minute. Okay, on in this particular module, it's a relatively a short presentation, and we cover the web user interface Fiori app. Okay, for which the lab document is already part of the LMS. We have modules of SAP IBP. So now, from the theory part, we are more moving on to the practical part, wherein we'll try and do the hands-on, the supply chain concepts, understanding of baseline and scenarios, that is scenario building in IBP, and the time series analysis. So time series analysis is nothing but the planning analysis to identify the forecast and the planning horizon. So web-based Fiori app, web user interface Fiori app. So this is basically the similar app like you have in your Excel. Okay. So Excel is more user friendly because it is widely adopted by or adapted by the majority of the group of the planners, and this is the most favorite. So we also have your web-based app user interface, which gives you similar output, and it also helps to prepare various MIS reports. So in terms of overall functionality, it is more or less in line with the Excel spreadsheet, like feel and look, and the controls and footprints, everything are basically in line with the other functionalities. So on the technology part, basically it works on the SAP platform, and it's basically SAP Classic user interface, SAP UI5, and these are basically the names of the web technologies which are used. Then we also have the bot building platforms, wherein the bots are basically those functionality which can communicate with the emails, which can communicate the data by attaching the data sets as an attachment and sending it through the email at a regular interval. So you have to define those parameters in the IBP, and then it automatically executes based on the time and the date that you have mentioned in your settings. Okay, now it operates on basically across all technology platforms. Okay, so these are basically universally accepted technologies which are mostly available on most of the available platforms. Okay, and it has basically the standardized design across multiple platforms. So if you visit on the several other platforms, you can get the same kind of reports as they are available in the other platforms. So some of these reports are also available on the mobile apps. So so that is very, very user friendly, and you can access it whenever you want, using your handphone. So what are the advantages of Fiori apps? It gives you a harmonized look, feel to SAP Fiori app. Like it exactly looks like similar to what you see it in the SAP screen. So it's extremely user friendly. Okay, it's extremely fast to build. It's like a kind of an app, which nowadays everybody is very familiar with, and now most of the generation is very conversant with the various apps with mobile gadgets, so it becomes extremely useful for us, to check the reports over the mobile phones, and we can check it whenever we want it. There is no restriction at all. Easier testing and building of the reports are easy. uh, there are quite a common languages for communication and a great onboarding platform. So this can be boarded on several other platforms, and it can generate the same level of output. The same screen of IBP picture as it is on the SAP HANA platform. Okay, and these are the number of platforms that are mentioned, like analytics and web-based planning, user interface, Microsoft Excel planning front end. This is exactly what you use in your day-to-day activity or in your organization. We have job scheduling, then user management and authorization, data realignment, so on and so forth. So these all communicate with the other platforms, like for example, SAP for IBP, SAP for inventory replenishment, so on and so forth, and moving up the ladder for the sales and operations planning and the control towers. Any questions or doubt so far about these slides?
No.
No, hey, quickly, I just wanted to check the
Okay.
app. You mentioned Fiori. Is that like a separate license which is needed for a company, or is that like a universal, like it's available for everyone who uses SAP HANA?
No, it won't have a license, because this is basically, if you have the license for the SAP IBP, generally, the apps are byproduct of that. You just need to have that functionality triggered. It may have a certain amount of cost associated to this, but certainly not a cost similar to the licensing cost.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. Modules of SAP IBP. I think this slide we have already covered in the first module, I think on the day one, wherein, this is just a snapshot of what we have already seen. These are the various type of reports available at a broader level, like complete scalable model, real time what if scenario, collaboration, then data integration, real-time analysis. So these are nothing but the modules or the reports available within the Fiori app. So whatever is available in Excel are also available in the web-based app. So it's more or less a different platform with similar kind of functionalities. Moving on to this supply chain concept topics, it has short term, mid term, and long term. Similarly, the way you also may be managing your planning horizon. Okay, short term basically has the inside frozen fence. The frozen window is the window where you are not allowed to make changes to the plan. Okay, so for example, if your manufacturing activities are basically measured on a monthly level, your manufacturing manager would always insist that they would need a frozen window of 1 month. That is basically, if the plan is released on, let's say, uh, last day of the prior month, then for this plan you cannot make any changes in the subsequent month. So this leads to a question, whether you have any frozen period for your activities of production, or you keep on changing the plan whenever there is a requirement.
Can you repeat the question?
Yeah. So frozen window is basically the window where you are not allowed to change the plans, especially with the production teams. So I just ask a question, whether you have identified or you have defined the frozen window or the planning time fence, where you are not allowed to make any changes in the plan?
For supply in the US, it's 1 week. It's frozen.
1 week. Okay. And for Canada, Vaibhav?
For Canada, it depends on the SKU because my main focus on the supply side is co-packaging and blending. So it depends on my understanding between, a consensus between me and the purchasing or the MRP department. So if there's some leeway, we can change it, but we don't usually change it for a week as well.
Okay, that's really good. And Shana, what about you? You are based in UK, right?
Yeah, I'm in the UK. I'm not sure on the supply side because I just do the demand side, but for the demand side, we lock the forecast 2 weeks before the period.
2 weeks.
Yeah.
Okay, so you do the forecasting on a weekly basis, or it's basically the month horizon?
No, we forecast on a monthly basis, so and then we lock that forecast 2 months before each new period starts.
Okay, got it. Thank you very much.
Yeah, same for Canada as well for demand forecasting 1 month. I actually recently had a question for Victoria because I was not able to change the forecast for the current month, but it turns out you can, but only broken down into weeks. So we also follow the 1 month for demand.
Okay, that's perfect. Okay, so short-term horizon is basically purely an execution part, okay, wherein you are actually executing the activity at transactional level, and there is always expedite or push outs in the short-term horizon based in the customer demand. Okay, the teams are always under firefighting mode or the crisis management mode, and a short-term period is the period where we have lots of challenges at the execution level. So as you move further to the mid-term and to the long term, you see that the glass is green on the other side. The things starts to look better because it is still pretty far away from the reality today. So midterm level basically talks about the aggregate level, okay, and it's more of a tactical decision making process, okay, and what can we do kind of an approach is where it is used, and for the long term basically it's outside the frozen window. That is for the long term sometimes is over the period or over the year window. So this is basically a strategic window because you don't need to make any changes right now, but based on the business strategy and the future strategy, things can change. But currently in the current scenario, there are no requests for changing anything. So this is the aggregate level decision, and what should we do is the question. So it's basically in the predictive side of the story. So short term and mid term, the response management teams are operational teams are always focused on this, and long term is basically sales and operations planning. Any doubts or any questions?
No questions.
No.
Okay, so understanding the baseline and the scenario. Okay, so process, scenario, and version are the three verticals. Um, so in the creation of the process, basically ad hoc, we have ad hoc process in the Excel user interface, and in version we have the configuration or the advanced configurations are available. So similarly in the population and promotional base, uh, when created or saved is the scenario, and via copy process in the Excel user interface. So these are basically the baseline and the scenarios as to what are the offerings by the IBP, for the scenario, and what are the versions available in the market. Like for example, key figures included. This is one of the process. which is in a selectable version. It cannot be available across the board. Or scope of attributes. Okay, so this can be at a filterable level. You can just filter the attributes, and you cannot select all the attributes together. Is not the scenario. Shall we move on to the next slide?
Yes.
Okay, so this is basically a scenario versus version. It gives you the output of how exactly the SAP will look like. So I just want to ask a question: whether do you prepare any kind of these kind of graphs in your Excel IBP in currently? Let's start with Vaibhav.
Yeah, I do. We have some templates set up, and we've updated those templates. So those graphs update monthly for me to report on and present.
So these graphs are designed by you based on your requirements, or they are the universal graphs available in your system?
No, these are manual inputs based on the real-time IBP data.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so any questions related to this? These are basically the scenarios or the versions that is available on your user interface based on the inputs that you have fed to the system. System has provided this kind of an output. So you can modify this output as per your requirement and need. And similarly, the output will be displayed based on the type of graph or type of visibility you want to show. Similarly, this is the different version of graph. You can see here, the pattern is increasing, and it can also add the trend line. So this is basically a different type of a graph, and you can pick and choose the graphs based on your requirement from the system. Now we are moving towards the time series analysis in the next modules. So what exactly is the time series analysis? We'll have a deep dive into this in the subsequent session, but it's basically the automated analysis of historical sales data. Like for example, you have to define the horizon for which you want to measure your sales history, and then use that history and populate the data for your future forecast. So to use the time series analysis, you need to first identify the data sets as to what is the period of data that you want to look at. Maybe it is 3 months, maybe it's 6 months, or sometimes it is 2 years. Then that becomes your data sets, and you analyze this data with various algorithms, or using the simple spreadsheet. And at the end of the result, you get the output, which will help you to understand what type of product behavior is this. Is this constant product? It is seasonal product? Is it sporadic? That means the order is coming once a month or once a 6 month based on the business, or it is a trend line. A trend line is basically it shows that whether your product or whether your requirements are increasing, that means it is trending upwards, or whether your forecast or the requirements are decreasing, that is, it means it is trending downwards. So time series analysis is extremely simple analysis. Okay, it just use the simple data sets of the past historical data and gives you the future forecast. So this was the last slide from the module 4, or sorry, module 1 and sub module 4. So with this, we are more or less done for the first set of module. which is basically the introduction to the IBP process. Remember, this is just the introduction at a high level and a little bit of a deep dive. So in total, we have about 9 different modules. Okay, and now we'll be covering the interfaces. Okay, that is CPI DS interface. And in second module, we have again 5 different topics which will be covered. Then in the third module, we have master data and demand planning. So this is the module, I think, where a maximum number of people from your organization are going to participate. So you see, this is only a single slide pack because most of the activities are covered in the prior sections. But we'll have a detailed hands-on on the master data and demand planning scenario. The next module is configuration, how to configure, data in the system, how the configuration takes place. So after that, we have the data integration jobs, then again, demand planning, the charts and dashboard. This is basically related to the MIS. The module 7 is related to the MIS. And then we have optimizer because this was a special request from your team to include optimizer in the module instead of inventory. Otherwise, it would have been the inventory management. So we'll be focusing more on the optimization process. And lastly, on the module 9, we have a supply planning process. So in short, it will cover the entire IBP process in the next 15 or 16 sessions. I think today is 4th session. So this is a total 16 more sessions to go. And by that time, I think you should have a good hands-on experience. So what I would request you is, to identify the areas where you would like to have a little bit of a deep dive into the tools, so that during the training session, we cover almost all the issues that or all the challenges that you are currently facing in your day-to-day activity. Okay, does it sounds good?
Yes. I just had one question for the.
Yeah.
Based on the course curriculum, it says that we should be starting module 3 on day 10, which would be August 14th. Is that
Hold on.
when we would start that?
Sorry. Can you repeat which module you said?
Module 3.
Module 3, yes.
It would be day 10, which would be August 14th. Would that still be on track? Just because that's when majority of other people would join. So I'd like to let them know.
Yes, we will try to make sure that we are more or less on track for that, because ideally the day 4 we should have completed module 1 by day 4. Yeah, I think we should be on track. Okay, so
Okay.
unless we get into a very detailed level of dive into the actual execution part, I don't foresee a major challenge. So in case if we foresee a challenge and if we are left out with, let's say, 7 to 10 slides, we can park those slides aside. We can start module 3, and during the next sessions, when you 3 are again there, then we can start from where we stop. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
So I think day 10 is the day when most of the people will be joining, right?
Yes.
Okay. And they will be attending only module 3 or 4, 5, 6 as well?
Some are attending 3. Most are attending 3, 6, and 9.
Okay, 3, 6, and
But
9.
For the most part, yeah, there might be like an extra person on module 4 and module 8.
Okay, so basically the focus is on the demand planning, okay, and supply planning, correct? That is 3,
Yes.
6, and supply. Okay,
Yes, that's when most people will be attending.
okay. And these people will be basically working in the demand planning role, okay, correct?
Demand or supply planning, correct.
Demand or supply planning, okay. So they are the actual, is this the team who's actually working on the day-to-day activity, or they are at a supervisor, manager on
Yes.
higher level?
No, most are working on the day-to-day.
Okay, 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 perfect. Okay, thanks a lot for this information, Victoria. That will really help, Okay, so I think that should be all for now, unless you have any further questions, which I would be happy to answer. Any specific questions, Weber, you have?
Just to summarize what we spoke about some time ago, I'll utilize my time tomorrow to go through the
Yeah.
test script. And you said the slide for Monday will also be available. Just had a question on that. Or no, just utilize that for the test script, you'd say. And I'll do the catch up on Monday afterwards.
Yes, because tomorrow we won't have this training session, so you can utilize it using the lab assignments. Try and use those lab assignment for your IBP test model. Okay. On Monday, yeah. Sorry, go on. Good.
No, sorry. I thought you were done. Go on.
Yeah. So on Monday when we are back, hopefully, if my issue is resolved, then we will go ahead and start working on the scenario building or the data maintenance based on the lab activities which is defined in the scope. Like for example, so day one you have exploring the IBP interface. Okay, that is then the navigating Fiori app, and on in Excel user interfaces lab 3, case study IBP module and flow lab 4. So at least by Monday we should be somewhere covering at least 1, 2, or 3.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. So tomorrow when you try and do the lab, if you face some issues, you can either take some screenshots of the error message or you can note down the issue. So when we are back, we can work on those issues and try and fix it.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Okay. So any questions, Sharna?
Nothing for me.
Nothing. Okay. So shall we close this session for today?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, then thank you so much. And see you on Monday, and have a great weekend, and take care and stay safe.
You too.
You too.
Bye-bye. Take
Bye.
care.
Thank you for attending the session. I hope you all enjoyed it. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. Also feel free to ask your questions in the comment section below, and we will reply to them at the earliest.